got 25 minutes. We got to go.
Why, hello, everybody. What's up, Say That Nation? It's your girl, Brittany, Wright. I'm here today. I am actually subbing in for our founders, Villiers and Winston Broderick. And I am going to be joined by some really cool guests today. I have a special guest host, which I'm super excited to introduce to all of you this afternoon. We're going to have a good time. We are ending our Ultra Black series for the month of February, and so it's been a pleasure. We've had so many cool people on this month thus far. But before we get into it, definitely want to introduce to you guys our guest host. He is an active duty Navy commander for nearly 22 years. He is a mentor. He's a STEM enthusiast. He's a graduate of FAMU, so he's a Rattler, and he studied for his master's degree abroad, which is super cool. I've had the opportunity to go to Egypt with this man and just, hang out all over the Dahab Mountains and things like that. He's a dance instructor, network marketer, just, real estate director. Like, the list goes on. There's a laundry list of ways in which I can describe and just share with you guys about our guest. But before we get started, just also want to let you know that he's a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So without further ado, Mr. Al Williams.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Al.
Hello,
Happy to have you.
What's going on? I almost had to log off. I'm like, they're talking about somebody else. That dude sounds cool.
No, that is you, and we're so excited to have you today joining us. Where in the world are you?
Oh no, I'm in California right now.
Okay.
Surprisingly, I'm at home. So yeah, I like to bounce around a lot, but no, I'm now in California. I'm in the Bay Area. I just moved out here recently from DC. I miss my DC family, but I'm really not mad about this California weather. So I'm gonna just say that. But no, I love it out here, and like you said, I've been involved in a lot of things. Right now, still active duty Navy. Got selected for a special assignment out here in California to work in the tech industry. So doing some really geeky, cool stuff. So my glasses remain for me. They actually fit very well for this position. So I'm in the tech industry doing artificial intelligence and machine learning for the Navy. So really cool stuff. But it is a struggle sometimes to maintain that life outside of my active duty duties in the world of entrepreneurship. And I'm really excited to talk about that. Today, especially, in this current, world that we're living in, where we have to, think about being Black and being an entrepreneur, being Black and being in corporate America, being Black and being, in the military. There's just so many facets and different kind of conversations you can have about that. So I'm really excited about this discussion today.
Of course, me too. And yes, thank you, Winston. Thank you for your service, Al. We really appreciate it. It's amazing for all that you do and all that you sacrifice. I am going to go ahead and get into our question for today. And our special question, or excuse me, before I get started, as I mentioned earlier, we're in the series of the Ultra Black series. So we're celebrating Black entrepreneurs for the whole month of February. So we just want you to share our appreciation for that, and we'll share that video real quick.
Stack bones and take my money, go and spend it where it's Black owned. Black owned business, Black owned shops, Black owned grocery, Black owned lots, Black owned houses, Black owned streets, Black on everything, everybody eats.
Awesome. So, Al, are you ready for our question for today?
Yes, I'm ready.
Right.
Let's go.
Can I get a drum roll from you, please?
I was on the drum line. So let's see.
Awesome. Thank you. So does being Black affect how you build your business? I'm going to go ahead and put the timer on. And I'm going to give you the honors of answering the question first.
Okay, yeah. Does being Black affect how I build my business? Definitely, right? Because especially, after we saw the world and how it changed back in 2020, right? Like there's so many different things that came about as a result of that, and we'll get deeper into that later. But just in general, right? Being Black and running my business is a big deal because I'm very deeply rooted in my culture, right? So a lot of things that I like to promote and sell, whether it's a product or a service to people. I always keep that in mind, right? How does that affect our community? How does that affect somebody that looks like me? Like, are they really going to like it? What are they going to say about it? And that question that a lot of us get now, especially because of 2020, the first time you take your business to a person, all of you out there, I'm pretty sure you know what question I'm about to say. The first thing somebody asks you is it Black owned? Right? Like don't front. We get that from all of our friends, and like there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because again, because of the world, that we saw, back in 2020, that's a very legitimate question, because of a lot of the social and economic inequities that we have, as it relates to Black people. Like, of course, that question is asked, and what I would say to all the entrepreneurs out there that look like me, don't be offended when your Black friend asks you that question, because it is a very valid question, in the current construct, the current world that we live in. So it definitely affects, the way I build my business, because I'm always trying to think like, okay, I love this product or service that I'm selling, but how can I make it fit a person that looks like me? But at the same time, how can I make it fit to the masses, right? Because as much as I want to love on and serve, people that look like me, I'm here to build a massive business, right? So I want to be able to build something that reaches the masses, that affects the masses. And I can't do that by having, just a tunnel vision on just people that look like me. I have to make it so that, it fits all people, right? But at the same time, I at the forefront of that is definitely ensuring that I take care of people that look like me, that, from a business standpoint, that I'm educating people that look like me, right? Because in a lot of cases, we're just not educated on it, right? Because, way back when I first got into this world of entrepreneurship, it started off with a dance company. And I'll tell you that I lost a lot of money in my first couple of years of doing that, because I just wasn't educated on it. And it wasn't that the information wasn't out there. It's just I didn't know where to look. I didn't have the proper mentorship. I didn't even know what mentorship in that space looked like. Right. So I think it's very incumbent upon us, to look for people that look like us and do things like this, right? To teach, what happens and what are those pitfalls of entrepreneurship when you step into it. Because had I had that mentorship, maybe I wouldn't have lost that, all of that money in the beginning of, my first phase of entrepreneurship. But, on the flip side thing, maybe it's good that I did, right? Maybe it's good that I did go through some of those ups and downs, and who's to say that I wouldn't still go through those ups and downs, if I didn't have that kind of mentorship. So
that's huge. You dropped a lot of nuggets there, and there's a lot to kind of pull on that. So that initial question, like, is it a Black-owned business, and will we be interested in the service or the product, like, and how does it fit us? And I know just in the business we're in together, we have a trifecta. It's skincare, it is nutrition, it's travel, it's amazing. And I'll be the first to tell you, like, as soon as I learned that there were hair care products within our company, I was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna do the other stuff because it's probably not for my hair. It's probably not gonna use this brush.
Right,
I was pleasantly surprised. So I think we all kind of go through that. Like, is it for us?
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the deal. I went through the same thing in that initial phase because I was legitimately the person that said, you know what, this looks cool, but you know what I mean, I like shea butter. So like, I'm probably just gonna keep using my shea butter. I don't know if I'm messing with some of this other stuff over here. I'm gonna let y'all do that, right? So it took me like really opening up and trying to understand, like, all right, can this really work for us, right? And it's not to say that, you know, you have to go in and just love everything about it at the beginning, right? You have to find that, you know, what fits you, right? And I think that was the, you know, the pivotal part is that one day when I figured out, you know what, people that look like me, that have, you know, generally have the same kind of skin conditions as me, they'll benefit from this particular portion, right? So that's what I'm going to lean in heavy on, and then just staying true to yourself, right? Because, you know, I think one of the major issues a lot of people have, especially, you know, people of color, when they come into business, is they feel like they got to fake it till they make it, right? You know, and they feel like they have to like say, oh, well, this is amazing and it works for everybody. Like, maybe it doesn't work for everybody, right? Maybe it, like this one specific thing, like it's not really gonna work for, you know, people of color. And that's okay to say that, right? Like, is nothing wrong with saying that. I mean, it's just being truthful and honest. And I think more people respect you when, you know, you come to them with truth and you say, hey, look, you know, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Like, this particular thing, it may not work for you, but I know for sure this one right here, you're gonna love this one, right? People love honesty, right? Because I mean, today I feel like the average consumer is like 10 times smarter than it used to be, right? You know, think about the world before, you know, Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff got super heavy. Like, people couldn't go like look stuff up all the time. People couldn't use other people as like barometers to figure out like, okay, does that really work? Okay, cool. I see them using it too, so maybe I might use it, right? So the average consumer is like 10 times smarter, so you can't really trick them, right? like they can go look all this stuff up. So like, just being honest straight out the gate, I think is the best thing, you know, you can do. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And that was one of the things I know I struggled with. Just being in business for the first time. I wasn't accustomed to selling much of anything, whether it was a service or a product. And, you know, I also knew that when I put my name on something, people are going to typically say yes or they'll follow. But if it's what I noticed is that if it was something that people weren't accustomed to me doing, I also had like pushback, like, oh, girl,
Yeah.
You know, you should be focusing on this. And I'm like, but I'm focusing on this though. And so people tend to, or they want to put you in a box based off of what they're accustomed to seeing you do, what they're accustomed to seeing you excel at. And if it's anything outside of that, they're just like, oh, and you know, that happens across the board, whether you're black or white. But I did witness that and experience that in my own this experience in building this as well. And then like, as a mother, like, the focus is, oh, well, aren't you focused on, you know, some of the things that moms do, or what's for kids, or what do you do for this? And I'm like, well, you know, I can speak to those things, but I really want to make sure that, you know, the fact that it is me, and you should, if you're going to support me, like, engage.
Yeah.
That. And we have a question. Can you guys talk more about the fake it till you make it? I see a lot of influencers pushing that.
Yeah. So, you know, when social media really first came about, I think it was extremely easy to do that. So like, some of the earlier influencers, I think really benefited from that or capitalized off of it, because at that point, nobody really knew what to think about social media, right? Like, some of the things that you have now, like, you got, you know, like the Instagram and Facebook stories, so you can like kind of see the more interpersonal, you know, sides of people's lives. So I feel like it's harder to do that now, and I'm glad that it is, because, you know, now you have like a trail, right? I mean, Instagram itself has been around for years now, right? Like, a lot of this generation now, they're growing up with it. But for us, you know, we kind of just saw it like slowly progress, right? So if you look back at a person's account over the last, you know, 5 or 6 years, right, and they're promoting, you know, growth, whether it's in the financial space, whether it's in the travel space, or, you know, what have you, you're just kind of seeing the same thing over the last 5 or 6 years. It's going to be kind of hard to believe. Like I said before, the average consumer now is a lot smarter, so they can look at that and say, well, I don't know, I'm just saying the same thing like every day, every year, and I don't see any like actual growth. So now, then again, it's also, it's also on the person, everything's in the eye of the beholder, right? So the person that's looking at it now, they may be unfortunately fooled by it, right? And it's sad to say, but I think it's getting harder to do fake it till you make it thing, and I think that more people actually respect you coming from whatever your bottom is. And that's not to say that everybody has to be like, broke, living out of a car or whatever, right? And I think too many people get caught up in that. Everybody wants to say that they came from the mud, that they came from the bottom, right? Like, here's the deal. Like, I grew up in the projects, right? I grew up in the projects on the south side of Chicago. You will not see me post about that every day. That's not who I am. I came from it, sure, but that's not who I am. I grew out of that, and I don't particularly want to continue to revisit it. Now, will I use it in certain forums? Yes, like if I'm doing mentorship to some kids that are in that particular situation right then and there, yes, I'm going to bring that up that, hey, look, I came from where you came from, right? So I think that, again, it's two different sides of it. I think that, a lot of people definitely respect knowing where your come from is. And then I also think that, it can sometimes be overstated. But, in terms of, faking it till you make it, I just really don't feel like, that's even a thing anymore. I think that the people that are doing it now, like you can kind of tell, right? Like they're the ones that you can spot out because it's just, it's all in the words that they use, the pictures that they post, right? You just start seeing a lot of things repeated. And because people are becoming smarter and smarter about like how this whole world works, I just really feel like the fake it till you make it people are starting to phase out.
I agree. I think there's definitely a grassroots like genuineness when you really see someone, like for example, a fitness progress post. So you see someone with either like the rolls or the cellulite for us women, the dimples, the tiger mark. I have them, so I'm not even like. And for a while, I was like afraid to even show that. I just wanted for people to see like, oh, you've been fit, you stayed fit. No, like I actually was fit for a long time. I remained fit to an extent, but didn't look the way I wanted to look. And here's that real reality for me. So here's how you can see it. And then here's what I'm doing to fix it or address it. And here's been my progress. And there have been so many people who, like you said, are so much more appreciative of that because, we're not average, right? So there's so many different things people want to be able to kind of, I guess, tie their name to. They want it to be relatable. And so you mentioned like, starting from the bottom and wanting to show that story and the grimy and the scary and all of that. And that's essentially, what we do here on this platform. We started from the bottom, now we're here. That's part of our tagline where we're literally talking to people about what happened in the very beginning when stuff wasn't as fun, when stuff wasn't as great for you in your business, and what was the ugly come up? Like how you get a haircut and you have to wait in between?
Yeah.
So what does the in-between phase look like?
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people are scared of. They're scared of showing that in-between phase. Everybody wants to show like, all right, I was at the bottom and then now super successful, right? Because that in-between phase, that might be some years for you, right? and that's okay. Like you may be walking around with that really bad haircut because you're waiting on your hair to grow out just so you can get them cornrows for like a little while, right? And it just kind of is what it is. And a lot of people are scared to show that in between phase because that in between phase, it's got some mountains in there, right? Like you're gonna be on top at 1 minute, and then all of a sudden you're all the way back down, almost back to that bottom you just came from, right? A lot of people are very scared to show that. And what that life looks like because it's scary, right? You get to a moment where you think like, what, this might not work out. Like, I mean, in my years of entrepreneurship, I can't tell you how many times I thought to myself, like, what, maybe maybe this is not going to work, right? And like, that's okay. And I think people need to hear that story because there's going to be somebody there that can benefit from understanding that it's okay to feel like you almost wanted to quit at some point, but then you just snapped out of it, right? But you have to show that story for them to understand how to snap out of it, so they don't think that it's just I'm starting from the bottom and then I watched a cool video on YouTube. Now I'm super successful. That's not the way it works, right?
Right. We have another question. So, do you think we get that from our families or society?
I think it's a mixture, right? It depends on your upbringing, right? I'll tell you, just from my own personal experience from my family, my mom is my hero. Like, if anybody's got my social media, you already know I love that woman to life, right? She is my superhero in this world. Did she know a lot about business and entrepreneurship? No, she didn't. When I first started out in entrepreneurship, one of the first things she said was, "That looks really cool. I hope it works," right? There was not a whole lot of motivation there because she didn't really understand it. And I can't fault her, for that, because she just didn't know what she didn't know, right? So my mom became one of my first customers only purely because I said, "Hey, Ma, this thing, that thing, Avon?" She was like, "Yeah." Well, it's not Avon, but we doing it though. So you got it now, right? That's pretty much how my first customer came along. And and it wasn't because she didn't care. It's just, she just didn't know. And then when it comes to society is beat up every day, right? Think about it. Like, when you look at the news, even social media, right? Depending on what you allow yourself to ingest, the world looks pretty damn scary. Like a lot of people are scared to walk out that door and go pursue these dreams because they're constantly getting beat up by the torturous view of what the world looks like when you decide to step outside of whatever that box is for you, right? So of course your friends in society whom may not be accustomed to this way of living that we live as entrepreneurs, they're going to say some things because they care about you, right? And it may seem like they're hating, but it's really they care and they just don't know. They don't know what they don't know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. Thank you, Jeannie, for that. Transparency does attract people, like you mentioned, showing the in between and not only the finished product. So 100%. I am so very thrilled to continue this conversation because guess what? We have another guest today. His name is Keith Willis. He is a powerhouse. We are all in the same industry together. He is a serial entrepreneur, venture capitalist, which I saw recently, former NFL player, a member of the esteemed Omega Psi Phi fraternity and incorporated. So we have some divine 9 brothers up in here today. So I want to introduce you all to Mr. Keith Willis.
Our next guest.
Happy to have you. So you're jumping into this. The question of the day was, does being Black affect how you build your business? And Al and I have been having this conversation. We've talked about faking it till you make it and what that really looks like, and kind of how that's fading away. So Keith, tell us about yourself and tell us your journey and what it's like to build your businesses.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity for being up here. I gotta show y'all love, man. I've been watching y'all for a couple years now, and it's been nothing but love watching y'all grow and build. And what y'all got here together is crazy. Y'all fancy with the introduction and everything. So shout out to Al. I know you doing a lot of major things, brother. Respect for everything you're doing with the military and just your life, man.
Might have a quick intro, a quick tech.
You got me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, yeah, and Brittany, as you know, we go back. So, yeah, so I've been very fortunate. I've been an entrepreneur now since 2000. I finished playing ball in 2008, and so I've been an entrepreneur ever since then.
Uh-oh, we're missing you, Keith.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
It says I got all my bars over here, so I'm not sure what's going on. Can you hear me? You good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. So yeah, I've been an entrepreneur since 2008, and I've been going hard at thing for almost 15 years now. And so whatever, I was an entrepreneur before entrepreneurship was cool. It wasn't a fad. It was like, nah, this was it when I was a young guy and nobody literally wasn't trying to hear nothing I had to say when it came to entrepreneurship.
We lost you again, Keith.
Internet won't let us be great.
I know.
Hold on, let me see if I can move locations and see if that's better. Give me 1 second.
All right, no problem. Just like you said, Al, the internet doesn't want Keith to be great today.
We'll get it figured out. Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's perfect. But yeah, I just think, there's so much to think about being Black while you're building a business, because it can be a challenging course. And so how to really attack that and how to still keep your Black card, for lack of a better phrase. And that's real, right? We experience that all the time. So Keith, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, definitely. And so I knew early on, I had a couple strikes against me, right? So, and as you probably can relate, coming out of college and people knew you as one way, you know what I mean? Having a good old time and having the fraternity tag to you. So a lot of times people already had a strike against me going into business. Two, being a former professional athlete, people think athletes are dumb. You know what I mean? So they're like, what you know about business? You're just trying to use your name to make some money, right? And then I didn't take no business classes. So, and then I'm a Black man. So I had all these strikes before I even opened my mouth about my product. So I knew early on that I had to be on 1,000 when it came to business. I had to be on 1,000 to provide a great service. And because I knew that I didn't have a shot, and I was doing it in the area that I did not grow up in. I came to DMV, but I grew up in Virginia. And so I had all these, which appear to be obstacles, but being Black up here wasn't cool to be entrepreneur, because everybody up here was trying to chase corporate jobs, chase a corporate ladder. Everybody's trying to see how much money you made. And so being a broke entrepreneur early on and a Black man, it was a lot of pressure. And so also at my very first business, I had a training business. I was a personal trainer. I had a fitness company, and I was dealing with a lot of people. I call them our cousins, right? In Bethesda area, right? And Rockville and all that stuff. And so I had to be very intentional about my communication, how I spoke with people, how I did business, about my contracts, how, in the DMV area is a lot of lawyers. So you had to make sure that you was like on point. And so I was very intentional early on about not being a stereotypical Black business. The one thing I always did, make sure I started on time, because people think, oh, Black business, they ain't gonna start on time, paperwork was gonna be weak, all that stuff. So I made sure that I erased all those stereotypes like on day one. And then I made sure I was consistent and dependable right away. You know what I mean? Like they could know that when I went to work with Keith or I did any business with Keith, he was gonna be there before me. And then over the years, I just got better and better to make sure. Dang it, this internet is not letting me win. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
The internet enemy will not win today, I promise you. All right. And so over the years though, like I gotten better and better, and it's been very intentional about making sure that we represent our culture correctly, no matter what room we walk into. If it's a boardroom, if it's a beach, if it's network marketing, if it's whatever the case may be, whatever business is, make sure that they're like, eventually they don't see Black, they see that's a good businessman right there, or that's a good businesswoman. So it's definitely been a challenge, big time challenge, but I made sure that it's a challenge I'm willing to take on.
Yeah, no, 100%. So one of the first things you said, Keith, was, being Black and having all these certain strikes against you, you essentially you knew you had to be the best of the best. And I said that in the very beginning in the description. Being Black, we've oftentimes been told you got to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
Before you drop into it. And so that's a ton of pressure. Like, I could be great, but do I have to be the best of the best? Like, why could I be Brittany, you know what I'm saying, and do this? And I'm going to do it well, but I might have some hiccups along the way. So, but entering something knowing like I got to be on point all the time. And that's a narrative that I think we carry all the time. So that's our timer, but we're going to keep going today.
Yeah. Let's rock. I'm so sorry about that. Let's rock out.
No. We're going to head to the podcast for a little bit longer. So, because we're getting into this conversation, but yeah, like this idea that you have to already step into whatever venture you're in and be the best at it. And it's like,
yeah, it gets exhausting, right? Like I've been military for 22 years now, right? And one of the things that I talk about a lot with, some of my young, sailors and airmen and soldiers is that it's okay to feel like you're tired of being the representative of all Black people, right? But understand that's a burden you have to bear, right? And it's not exactly fair, but it just kind of is what it is, right? And Keith, one of the things that I always love and respect about you is that you've done that very well, right? Especially like within our industry, I've seen you like rise to the top, and I never felt like you lost a sense of like where where your come from is. And we were talking about that earlier. Like, it's not that we have to go around and like boast like, yeah, I started from the bottom, I started from the hood and all that. But the fact that you still remain very true to like where you are, but you still uphold this certain amount of professionalism that shows that you can like, you can flip the switch, right? Look, I got my hood days or whatever, right? I still do hood stuff, right? But when it comes to being in a room full of people where I have to display a certain amount of decorum, like you will see that 100%. So yeah. It's exhausting, but it's just what we unfortunately have to do, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brittany.
Sorry, there's so much to that, right? So there's this idea or this concept around being Black enough, and so. When you walk into a room and you, like you said, I'll have a certain sense of decorum. It's like, oh, he's not really one of us. Like, what, bro? Like, no, I can speak properly and you can still understand what I'm saying. And we had a question in the chat, like, where do you think this comes from? Was it primarily from slavery? Is it something that is just, intergenerational trauma? Like, it just gets passed on and passed down.
Yeah, honestly, I think it does stem from slavery. Think about this: if you didn't pick enough cotton, you were getting your hands cut off when you came back home. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was real. You had to be on point. If you didn't do the job at an elite level, you lose your family. You was being raped. You was be taken. All of that stuff. From then and then, as of course, as our history played itself out, we use.
Oh no.
Just maybe get to the good part.
Wait.
Oh wait.
All right, we're here.
We're like, man, we get to the good part.
Hold on.
I'm not going to stop. We always starting 10 steps back, behind our competition, no matter what, because we had all these stereotypical things against us. So we had to come and excel. Think about from entertainment, from sports, Jackie Robinson. We had to always overcome so much just to get a chance and get a shot. And then we got a shot. We had to excel at an elite level to make sure that people got a shot behind us. And that's across every industry you can think of, right? And so it's unfortunate it has to be that way, but that's made us who we are. That's why we're so strong and resilient. And that's why we are so great at a lot of things, because we had no choice but to be great. We can't afford a day off. We can't afford to be not on point, because as soon as we are, we're like, see there, that's what happens. Think about this. Think about what just took place. If y'all following sports, what happened with Juwan Howard in Michigan, right? There was a brawl that he got in the fight after a game. He's a Black head coach from Michigan alum, and he got in the fight after the game, literally a couple days ago, and got suspended 5 games. And you got both sides, people on the internet like, yeah, he's from Chicago. You can't mess with him. He's showing us who he really is. Black folks, you can't do that to Black folks. But then I look at it from the other side, was like, that's why they won't hire us. That's exactly why they won't hire. And not saying he was right or wrong. That's whatever. But we just gave him another reason why we shouldn't be hired at that level, and he has to be like excellent with his restraint. I don't care if they called him every word of the book. They're looking for him to respond in some type of way. And when that happened, that took place, and you got suspension, now you got everybody like, see, that's why you got to put the Rooney Rule in the NFL. You know what I mean? We can't give people a reason not to hire us, give people a reason not to give us an opportunity in business and entrepreneurship, whatever case may be. So, yeah, it started a long time ago, and it's still going to this day, but that's why you have to continue to operate in excellence no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, like the topic of like cultural, disparities and generational trauma, I think is one of the most under discussed things ever, and like its effects on like mental health, especially. I mean, but just pure statistics, right? I mean, I was reading about this earlier, but Forbes, they did like this whole panel and talking about Black entrepreneurship, and they said that Black women make up about 14% of the population, right? But there's about 42% of the women in entrepreneurship are Black, yet less than 1% are actually receiving funding, given to entrepreneurship and building businesses, right? So the one of the bigger issues is kind of like speaking to the point of what you're saying is there's no blueprint, right? There's no foundation being built, right? So there's nothing really teaching us how to, maintain that pulse on, what our community needs, right? And by our community, I mean, us as African Americans, and what we need to go off and go build these businesses. So it's a matter of not just being, like the creative, right? We throw that word around a lot, but also having like a strategy to promote uplift and just build whatever that creativity is. So it's not just being, like what's trending, right? It's how do we build together, yet still provide some kind of legitimacy to, whatever our product and service is to the masses. So yes, for the culture, but just look at, some of the biggest CEOs in the world, right? Look at your Jay-Z's, your Beyonce's and all that, right? They are definitely for the culture, right? But are they just selling to Black people? No, they're selling to everybody, right? Did they have a couple moments, right, in the elevator where, things got a little crazy? Yeah. They're human, right? But when you see them on a daily, right, what are they doing? They're upholding, that professionalism that we talked about, right? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that needs to be so there are certain things that you learn at home, a certain level of conduct that you have. Otherwise, you're going to learn it from maybe a group of people a group of people who don't have to follow the same standards as you, right? And so I just think, and I gotta say, like, as I watch Black men, lead their families and be entrepreneurs, and it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to be all of these things and still operate at excellence, which I am all for excellence, and I love to see it. Black boy joy, like I have two black boys. You cannot mistake them for being Black, so that'll never be a thing for them. But I also want them to have the space to be able to understand that you can make mistakes and you can fall down and you can stand back up and you're still a king. So those are things that I think about just as a woman, as a mother, just as someone who's, I want my Black men to be uplifted regularly, especially in business, especially in the industry that we're all in network marketing. Like, I want us to be there more regularly. But I also recognize there's just a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure being put on us to be excellent. And that's challenging to watch. And anyone could crumble under those circumstances, right? So it's I love how resilient, I love how strong we are. And I also feel as though we need to be able to be vulnerable. Like, when I forget her name, but she was running in the Olympics, the young sprinter. She tested positive. Yes. So she tested positive. She had smoked marijuana, and the whole social media was like, you see. And I'm like, yes. And so it's your same point that you mentioned earlier, Keith, like you're in the public eye. So there's a certain way you have to, act and operate, but at the same time, that's a slap on the wrist for many other people in other cultures. So
if you think about it, just happened in the Winter Olympics. We had a young Russian skater tested positive, and you know, they continued to let her participate in the Olympics, and it was a controversial thing.
Yes.
So,
yes.
You know, and then to your point, you know, think about it, I keep looking at this question, how, you know, does being Black, you know, affect the way you build your business? And it's crazy as we talk about like grace, right? Where we wish sometimes we wish we had opportunity where if something's not on point, we can recover from it. But you know what? Unfortunately, some of our biggest critics is right in our own community. You know what I mean? It's just like, so for instance, I'm doing an event this weekend for vegans in the DMV. And the pressure I feel is not even about if I'm performing at a high level. It's like, if somebody doesn't get their food on time, are they going to kill my social media? Are they going to kill my Yelp? Because we're quick to jump on Yelp or whatever case may be. And see, that's why I don't support Black businesses. That's why this and that. And it's from our own people a lot of times who never ran a business, right? Who've never been in that position to even do that. And I found a lot of times people are cousins who, if we're not on point, they're slower to even give us a bad review. They may not come back, but they won't go kill us, so our business won't flourish. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we'll get more feedback from them, where we'll get more feedback from our cousins more so than our culture. You know what I mean? Because everybody wants to be the first to try to shame somebody or talk down somebody. And so as an entrepreneur, I'm quick where, say Al's doing it, has a business and something ain't right. I'm gonna go to Al like, hey, Al, had an amazing time. This was great. There's a couple things that I had an issue with. Here are the two things, but I'll definitely come back to support you again. I'm gonna let you know what it is so we can get better as a community. That's how I communicate with anybody that's in business.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah, we gotta get out of the cancel culture, man.
Yeah.
That is constructive criticism if I ever heard it. We have the chat is blown up, so I want to make sure we get our questions answered.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think the industry of network marketing is built with the understanding that as Blacks we can literally help each other build generational wealth? I know the short answer, but I'd like to hear from you guys.
I'm over here like,
yeah.
Al, you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kickstart it. Short answer is no. I don't really think it is. Can it? Yes, it definitely can. Do I think it has a framework to do so? Absolutely. The issue I think is the picture painted well enough to speak to people of our culture, and I don't think that's the case. But again, that comes from what I was saying earlier, is that we don't have a blueprint, right? We don't have enough Keith Willises running around showing that, hey, you can actually go build this and do something significant with it, right? And until we have that high level of like diversity and inclusion, it's going to be very hard, because people are generally just looking at what they see as the mass of generational wealth being built, and that's not from people that look like us.
That's real. I believe so. I'm on both sides of the side, kind of, right? So before I got into network marketing, I never thought it could be done. I think for people like us, I thought you had to be the very first one in to get it done. That's the only chance you had if you're a Black person. But as I got into network marketing, after years of killing it, I was crushing the industry. I was a guy you didn't want to show, and they got into it and succeeded at a very high level with it and made tons of money with it. The one thing I realized that wealth can be created, but it's to Al's point, we have.
No.
It's always on the good part. So
it's always in a part that we want to.
Devil will not win today.
Hey, no, we listen.
I know, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh, we're getting good. But to Al's point, we have to be able to cast the vision and to be in position to make decisions that will cater to our culture. And it has to be a blueprint, an example of what it looks like. So as we know, when I was building in my very first company, I did my best to collaborate with as many people as possibly could to show, if you was in my organization or not, that we could win at a very high level. And I was going to help you win at a high level, because I knew your story can help me make more money, and my story can help you make more money. Our story can help each other win at a high level, no matter what, and still carry ourselves with excellence. So I knew when I first got in, I had to be the example for Keith, saying like, there's somebody out there saying this can't be done. There's somebody out there saying, well, whatever excuse that there was, or we couldn't build wealth.
No, devil.
Right. Not today.
Not today.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, I'm resilient. We gotta be resilient. All right, so we had to be the example of what it is. So as now I'm in my new, as I'm building my new company right now, is what I've learned is that our culture is the one that pushes majority of the companies, that brings the most of the money. It's just that now we have to get to a position that we need to become friends or associates with the owners, with the board members, with these people, so they can hear from our perspective what this company needs to thrive to attract our culture to it. And so I don't only it's one thing just to build. That's what they want, is to just build, make money. That's one thing. But I always say, get in a position where we not only can make money, but you can make an impact. You know what I mean? So it's one thing to be, like, if you're not making an impact and you're just making money, it's like, all right, cool, it's like a side hustle. But when you're making a true impact because you're in a position to make an impact, then that's when the true change starts to come.
Yeah, 100%. I want you to finish that thought, Keith.
I know, right? I'm like yeah, I think.
Yeah. So I definitely create wealth. That's all I was saying. We definitely create wealth if it's done right. I truly believe it can.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, being in position to influence the change, right? Like getting, you know, more of us that are sitting in the rooms, you know, with the owners, so we can talk about things that will, you know, have a positive effect on people that look like us. Because maybe it's just a lack of education, right? You know, I was talking about it earlier with, you know, when I first joined, you know, the industry, my mother very supportive, but just wasn't educated on it, right? So it's not that she didn't want to support, you know, what I was doing. She just wasn't very educated on it. And it's the same thing with the owners, right? Some of these owners, they want to support us. They want to like do things that speak to our culture, but because they're not educated on it, they don't know exactly where, you know, to step forward first. And it takes people like us getting into those rooms and having those conversations in order to push for those, you know, changes of like social and economic inequities.
Absolutely. And it's not only about education with the owners, right? One thing I've learned in our industry is that we have to educate ourselves on wealth, because we never had to do that before. You know what I mean? A lot of times we get in to try to make a quick dollar. If it's not working right away, we're like, oh, this isn't it. I knew it was a scam or this. But the thing is, like, nah, it's not a scam. It's just you're still confused about money, right? You're still confused about how things are really built. You've never in a business before. So when we come in this mindset, let's run a business and let's treat it like a business. That's when we start getting paid like a true business. And so one thing I'm doing an even better job now, is educating people on how to run business, just how to do business, on how to communicate, on personal development, becoming the person like, yeah, you want to make $100,000, but are you somebody worth making $100,000? We all got dreams. So that's one thing I'm really focused on as we continue to develop in this industry, because I really believe it's an industry that can free a lot of people. And it's not just about that, whatever vehicle you're in. It's the next step is, you're making money whatever company you're with, but the real win is, what are you doing with the money you're making? Like, what investments are you making? You know what I mean? Because this company, as we know, could come in, could be gone. It could be an amazing product, and the company could be gone like that tomorrow. We've all seen that. But what's going to withstand you is that what investments get money, buy assets, and live off the money from the assets. That's the rule I live by. Cash, money, cash, assets, cash.
Yeah.
So get money, buy assets, and get the cash from that, and live off that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one of the things I definitely respect about you is I've seen a lot of people that look like you rise to the top, you know, in these companies. But the one difference I will say that sets you apart is that I saw you get to the top and then go do something significant with your position at the top, right? Like, you didn't just say, oh, I'm at the top, let me go ahead and pull out this Rolls Royce, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. It's just like, and we work in the travel industry. It's like you can't get to the top and just say, I'm at the top. Let me go on more trips. Like, that's cool, right? But like, what are you doing with this influence that you have now, right? Like, what are you gonna do with the money to continue to create that generational wealth? And like, I definitely respect that about you, and I wish more of us would continue to do that. So.
No, absolutely. I think part of that too, I was that playing ball, professional ball, I've been around where people had the money and lost it all trying to buy things, impress people. And I just think in the area in my life now, I realize what's important. You know what I mean? I realize that, can we go buy my thing? I got to live by the rule. If I can't buy it twice, I'm not buying it. And I'll pull up in my Chrysler 300 and not care what you think, because I probably could still buy your entire block. You know what I mean? It's just, I got my priorities, and I know what I want, and I know what my ultimate goal is, and I don't care what people may think or say about me along the way. So I don't care if people like, oh, Keith, are you gonna get the new whatever? Like, nah, that's not in line with my goals.
Right.
You know what I mean? But my mom ain't got no bills. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are things that are important to me. Like, I could pick up and go to Paris tomorrow if I want to. You know what I mean? But it's just we just have to continue to be the example of what it looks like. Put the work in to go win. And then two, when we go win, make sure we're doing it at a high level and doing the right things with it to set the example for our community.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes to everything. I have two little ones, 10 and 4.5, and they literally, I took them shopping this past weekend, and I gave them a budget. I was like, Darius, you have this amount of money. Norman, you have this amount of money. We can go to whatever store, but here's your budget. And just in setting that example for them, like constantly, Darius is constantly counting, goes, okay, if I buy this, I got $70 left. If I buy this, I got this amount of money left. So constantly calculating that. And not that you have to live by that all the time, but the exercise of, one, practicing your math, two, setting a budget for yourself, and then executing it so that you can do it over and over again. If I did that more when I was younger, I'd be much better at budgets.
Yeah. That's all of us.
So yeah, 100%. And so yes, Winston used to always say, if you can't buy it twice, don't buy it. Which is, that's true. Like, if you can buy two of them, then okay. But if you can only afford one, then all right, we need to think about that. But yes, we have 5 minutes left, guys, and I'm definitely loving this conversation. We probably need to do a part 2 to this, because there's so many different.
I'm with it.
There's so many different things that we can dive into when it comes to building a business while Black, doing anything while Black, actually. But you guys have shared so many gems, so many nuggets. The chat has been on fire the entire time. So we appreciate all of you who've been joining us live. It's been awesome. So I want to give you all just a final word for the afternoon. It doesn't matter who goes first.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. So one of my Hoodie Millionaire company, we teach entrepreneurs how to take the business for 6 and 7 figures, right? That's what we do. That's what I love, coach. I love seeing our people become wealthy and help them, give them tools to become that, right? And the one thing I can say, about building business while Black is, one, don't leave out the fundamental and basics. Get your paperwork in order, but get your bank accounts in order. Separate your personal from your business income. Learn how to do tax write-offs. Like, learn the very basics and fundamentals about business. And yes, if you want to make $1 million or hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever your goal is, financial.
It's gonna come back. I got it. There you go.
We was almost there. Before they cut me back off, I was saying, yes, we want to make all the big money. It will come, but it will only come when the foundation is built correctly. So spend a lot of time digging, spend a lot of time cleaning up the foundation, laying the proper foundation, a proper cement per se on your business. And trust me, the empire will be built. But if you try to skip to the empire right away, it's built on sand. It's going to fall right over, and you have to start it all over again. And trust me, I've been in the process where I had to start things over, and it's not fun. You know what I mean? It's not fun. But if you take the time in the beginning to set the foundation correctly of your businesses, I promise you, Black, white, Chinese, whatever, you will have a successful business. And make sure you're doing something that you love to do, not just to make money. If you're doing something just to make money, it's going to eventually fold. But if you're doing something that's with purpose and you chase purpose, the paychecks will chase you.
Yeah.
100%. Al?
Yeah, I got like 1 minute before I got to jump on another meeting, but I'm just going to just co-sign on everything Keith said, because I too have gone through that where I had to completely rebuild. When I first started off in entrepreneurship, I did not have a proper mentorship. No one really taught me exactly what to do with this money. Once I got it, they just said, hey, just go keep building, right? And it took coming across people like Keith to understand that, hey, once I get it, all right, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with this influence? What am I going to do to continue with moving forward? What are my actual life goals? If I'm going to retire my mother, like, how am I going to sustain this kind of wealth so that I can continue doing that? Because I still got, bills to pay, right? And them bills are not going to stop, right? They're going to continue to come. So you got to figure out how you can maintain and continue that lifestyle. So love everything you said about that. And I wish, more of us would, educate ourselves on it, but it takes platforms like this in order for us to get there. So,
no, definitely. I love this platform. Thank y'all for putting this thing together. Let's definitely do a part 2. There's so much information I can help and share with, but what y'all started something amazing here and beautiful, and there's a lot of people that could benefit from this. And now getting a feel of it, trust me, we're gonna push this thing heavy. What I could do to support it and push it, just let me know. I'm down for it. I'm gonna see y'all in with this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you both for being on this afternoon, taking time out of your busy schedules to have this conversation, crucial conversation. Sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation, but nonetheless, we're here and we're doing it with excellence. So I appreciate you both 100% for your time today. It's been amazing. We are definitely going to do a part 2 of this. There's no stopping us now. And just we're going to continue to build. So thank you so much, everybody, for being on. It was an absolute pleasure to have you both on and just, have this conversation. So as we end today, I just want to let you guys know, we always say this towards the end of all of our shows. So as always, please remember that you deserve the good life. Say that. We're so excited to have you guys. Have a great afternoon, Say That Nation. Have a great afternoon, Al and Keith. Thank you again for your conversation today.
All right, take care.
Bye.